Hello Year 8 and welcome to your feedback video for this week. As I've said previously, as part of your home learning, I will provide weekly feedback on the work that you've completed in the previous week. Okay, I will primarily focus on your responses, on your answers to the quiz that you completed last week, where you focused on the poems Out of the Blue and The Caged Bird, okay? Because this video is focusing on the work that you completed last week between the 18th and the 22nd of January. Okay then. First of all, I just want to celebrate a few things. Well done to those of you who completed the quiz. 19 out of 30 of you completed that. Well done. The majority of answers were correct. We will go through those in a bit more detail shortly. And your what, how, why paragraphs demonstrated some real skill for those of you who did fill them out. So well done for that. But next thing we're going to do is just have a look through the answers that you provided to that quiz. Okay? So 19 responses, as I said. Well done those of you who did complete it. If you're somebody who didn't, please do try and make the effort to complete it this week if you can. The quiz that will be set for this week. But let's have a look through some of the answers here, okay? So that you know whether or not you are correct. Number one, which term describes a speech presented by a single character? The first thing I'm going to point up is this answer here. Let us please be aware of what is and is not appropriate when we are providing answers to questions such as this. Alright, and emojis such as those are not welcome in this kind of forum. Alright, if you're not too sure, either just give it a go or leave it blank, okay? So, the correct answer for this question then, which term describes a speech presented by a single character? It is a monologue, okay? Mono meaning one, log meaning sort of speech, alright? So it's a single person speaking, it's a monologue, okay? And that term comes to play a lot in things such as plays and whatnot as well later on down the line. Alright, so as you can see, the majority of you got that right. If you didn't get that one right, please make a note of that as being one to revisit, okay? Number two, which technique was used to create a sense of urgency or immediacy and out of the blue, waving, falling, tiring? Okay, we've got a mixture of answers here, admittedly, but we've got one person who got the answer right down here. It is a present tense verb, okay? That is the action that the person is doing. They are waving or they are falling or they are tiring, okay? But it's present tense, it's happening now, okay? That's what they're doing in the present. Some of you did put verb, absolutely, but we do need to make sure we are looking at the specifics here, and it is a present tense verb, okay? Number three, which technique was used to emphasise or reinforce an idea or an emotion in Out of the Blue? Are your eyes believing? Believing. And so if you've got this one right here, it is repetition being used there, okay? You've got the repetition of the same word across lines there, okay? Repetition, repetition. Okay, so if you put anything other than repetition, you haven't got that one correct, so please do make a note. That's something to be aware of, okay? Number four, what did the imagery of the flying bird symbolise in Caged Bird? Freedom, yep. The freedom the bird has, that the bird was free and happy. Those of you who have put things along the lines of trapped or imprisonment, okay, I think that's on the opposing side. That's when the bird is still in the cage, okay. At the minute, we've got the imagery of the bird flying, okay, and we are looking at these ideas of freedom, etc. Number five, what did the imagery of the caged bird symbolise in Caged Bird? And this is where some of those answers in the previous one come into play. Imprisonment, oppression, a sad bird that doesn't have freedom. Yep, trapped, imprisonment, imprisonment of the bird, imprisonment and oppression. Imprisonment, absolutely, okay. It's this imagery of this bird, this little metaphorical bird in the cage. And then finally, number six, how does Angelou use language to present ideas about freedom and oppression? This is where you're asked to write a what, how, why paragraph. All right, to consider what has the poet done, how have they done it, using evidence and a bit of analysis, and then why has the poet chosen to do it in this way. I'm not going to look through the all of the different responses there, but this is a question that I am going to focus on, because I do notice that despite 19 of you completing the quiz, only 13 of you submitted a response to this question. Okay, so that tells me it's something that we do need to look at in a bit more detail. So going back to the PowerPoint then. First of all, one note I did just want to make about Maya Angelou. All right, she is a female. Okay, just notice that some of you were referring to her as he in your answer, so that's just always good as something to be aware of. And she is an American poet, memoirist, and civil rights activist. Okay, or she was. So this was the question here, right? And I wanted to show you an answer that really, really met that criteria well in the aim of meeting the what, how, why paragraph. So how does Angelou use language to present ideas about freedom and oppression? And this is in relation to her poem, The Caged Bird. All right, and again, you had to frame it. What has the poet done? How have they done it? And why have they chosen to do it in this way? So I'll read through this paragraph and then I will look at it in a bit more detail. Angelou presents ideas about oppression through the symbol of the caged bird. This is apparent when she uses the words, his wings are clipped. This detail leads me to infer that she can't fly. In particular, the verb clipped is significant because it suggests that the bird has been deliberately cut on purpose to stop it from flying away or escaping. Perhaps Angelou did this to suggest that that ways in which slaves were being captured and controlled by others, and it was cruel and unnatural thing to do. Okay, so this is an answer that I've taken. This is one of your answers that I have taken. And so the reason I've chosen this is because it really does follow that what, how, why structure really, really well. Okay. So first of all, we have our what, okay? We have our statement. Angelou presents ideas about oppression through the symbol of the cage bird. There you're explaining what the poet is doing. You're explaining what Angelou is doing. The next thing you need to go on to do is consider the how. How is she doing that? Then first of all, we have our textual evidence. Okay, so that points out from the text, that provides evidence from the text as to where this thing is happening that you've presented in your what. However, not only are we presenting the evidence here in that quotation, we also then go on to provide some analysis. Okay, this detail leads me to infer that she can't fly. Absolutely, that's one inference. And then we zoom in on a particular word, in particular the verb clipped. All right, and do be aware that if you do use words like that, please do still put quotation marks around the words. The verb clipped is significant because it suggests that the bird has been deliberately cut on purpose to stop it from flying or escaping, or a rather large how section there, but that's absolutely perfect. This is the sort of thing we should be aiming for, right? Your how section of analytical paragraphs are always going to be quite large. Okay, because not only are we showing the how through providing evidence, we're then making an inference on the entire statement before zooming in on particular words. Okay, and that really allows you to demonstrate your understanding of what's happening in whatever text it is that you're studying. And then we move on to the why. Okay, so perhaps Angelou, and that's a really good way to start things off. Okay, you're considering what the poet's intentions were in creating this poem, in describing things in a particular way by using the language that they chose to use. Okay, and that ends our paragraph here off nicely. Okay, perhaps Angelou did this to suggest that ways in which slaves are being captured and controlled by others, and it was a cruel and unnatural thing to do. So we have some reasons there, and we have more than one as well, which is brilliant. We're linking it back to context and the other things that are going on. So that is just something we should ideally aim to do. Okay, when it comes to any form of analytical writing, when I did look through all the paragraphs that you guys submitted on the quiz, I say all of them did. At the very least, they included the how and the why. All right. Some of you started with your evidence and then talked a little bit about the evidence. Some of you needed to also include some information about the context. But on the whole, you know, it's really good for everybody to have this awareness that you do need to move through that process of considering what's happening, what's the poet done, how have they done it, and why have they chosen to do it in this way. You need all three elements for successful analytical writing. Alright, so just bear that in mind when you do come to do this similar task in the future. Do make an effort to try and meet all three parts of that paragraph structure. That is all for today. Alright, keep up the good work. Please remember to submit all the work that you complete if you can, and as always, get in touch if you need any help. Either leave me a message on Show My Homework or send me an email via your school email address. Otherwise, that's it from me for this week. Your next feedback video will be up next week. Have a good week. Alright, take care, and I'll see you again soon.